Page 135, exercise 10.1. I didn't cover anything in chapter 9 or unit 9 because that's dealing with jazz and jazz styles. There are a number of people on YouTube, teachers who teach jazz very well. I highly recommend them. I don't teach jazz. I know a little bit about it. I know enough to get myself into trouble. I'm not comfortable in leading you through that. So I would encourage you, read the stuff if you're interested in jazz in Unit 9, but subscribe to and follow those people on YouTube that teach jazz. You have to kind of search around. I found a couple, I can't think of who they are right offhand. I think I subscribe to them on this channel. You can look at my subscriptions and go down and see who they are. But I'm sure there's others that I haven't found yet. Keep in mind, some teachers are better than others, but any of them are going to know more about jazz than I do. However, I do want to talk about this exercise on 135. On 134, they're talking about interpretation. And we're getting into some more advanced kind of stuff. This isn't beginner stuff here. This is more intermediate and leading into advanced stuff. It's where you get beyond playing the notes, where you're just playing notes. You have to turn the music into an emotional experience, more or less, because that's really what music is about. So they talk about stylistic, expressive, dramatic, you can read all about that. We have different periods of music where music has evolved, and so if you're playing music in that era, we tend to want to interpret it according to that era. So we're not going to go in and play Mozart like we would play Ravel. They're two totally different things. So Mozart has a certain style to him, and Brahms has a whole different style to him, and so you have the classical period or the Baroque period. The classical period has their stuff, and the Romantic period has their stuff where they exaggerate quite a bit, and then you get in more in the contemporary. At the beginning of the 1900s, beginning of the 20th century, the pianists actually really took their interpretive skills, they exaggerated them. Let's just say that. I mean, you can hear recordings of Rachmaninoff playing his pieces and other pieces where he is just taking all kinds of liberties that we would never think to take. I mean, he's pretty much violating what the music is saying to do in trying to be interpretive. Because that was the way it was done at the beginning of the 1900s. Lots of piano players did that. I mean, they would change the tempo and they would change note values and all kinds of things for interpretive effect. Then we got out of that, and now it's more like you do what the music says to do. But as long as you don't violate what the music says to do, you can do anything you want. That's where interpretation comes in. Now, in order to get there, first you have to learn the piece. You have to get all the notes and all the rhythms and any pedaling involved and all that stuff, all the dynamics and articulation and everything. It all has to be in place. You do all this mechanical groundwork first. So on this exercise, you're going to develop an approach to learning a new piece of music. Everybody does. But an approach you can think about, start with, and then alter as you go on would be, when you look at a piece of music, look at the whole thing and see what's involved, sort of, if you can, and then kind of play through it. Now, if you can play through it, both hands, that's fine. Otherwise, just play through it, one hand or the other, depending on which hand is more interesting, to get an idea of what's there. So here, it's like it starts in the right hand, and then a... So you get an idea what it sounds like. You're not trying to be too expressive or anything. You just want to hear it. If there's recordings of it and you've heard other people play it, you already kind of know what it. In that case, you're looking to get a feel for what it's like to actually play it, the physical feel of what it is to have it under the fingers. And you go through, I recommend you go through one hand at a time until you're comfortable with it and you can play it correctly with that hand. You have all the notes and all the fingering and all the rhythms down. So what's the fingering? 1, 4. Okay, I do it different, but that's fine. And then go on. Got 2 voices in there. Did you catch that last line? So you get an idea. Now, I would learn it right hand. I get it pretty much under my fingers. The fingering and probably the articulation to a point. And the rhythm, of course. And then I go back and do the same with the left hand, make sure I can get that. Now keep in mind at the beginning of this in the left hand, that G is tied, so you're not going to play it again. It's here. It's not going to sound wonderful. The point is, can you get a feel for what it is under the fingers, and so you can catch these little things that you would miss if you were trying to do both hands together, because that's too much to look at first. So it's here. Go down to the 3rd line after the repeat sign when the left hand comes in, and then come down here, and treble clef. Watch the fingering. Two voices again. And then you can finish it out. You get that. And when you're comfortable with it, go back very, very slowly, and it doesn't hurt to use a metronome once you get it. At first, you may not use the metronome because you're not so concerned about rhythm as you are getting the right fingers and the right notes. But put the hands together very slowly. Right? Together, I like the way they're intermingling with each other. Is that right? Catch that? That's tricky. That's bad. It's poor arranging as far as I'm concerned. But look at the 3rd line down. Now this is after the repeat sign. The right hand is coming in. Then the left hand comes in. Then in this next measure, you have an F in the left hand and here in the right hand. Now watch. I need that F in the right hand in the next note, but I'm playing it in the left hand. So I got to get off of it in the left hand so I can use it in the right hand. So I got to cut that a little bit short. That's what I don't like, because it shouldn't be cut short. Try and keep it as short as possible. Now, at the end of the piece, that last 8th note is by itself. The right hand has a rest. So you work it out carefully where you can play it with a metronome, no wrong notes, both hands together. You get that part. Then once you have all that comfortable, add the dynamics and the articulation, whatever. At the beginning, FP, you're going to play that loud. We can't really do an FP on piano. We do the best we can. You can play the first note loud, and then from then on it's soft. Sounds like an accent to me, but soft. loud. Going on, you're starting soft, now you're going to get loud. They don't tell you how loud to get. So what do you feel it should be? Well, you can experiment with different loudnesses. This is the idea of practicing. So maybe you'll only get up to a medium loud, then try it again and get up to a loud, or try it again and get up to a very loud. See what you like, experiment. So you start. Now, in the third line, there's a meno mozo. That means less motion, which means slower. Just say slower. Slow it down a little bit. So depending on how fast you were going before, this is slower than that. And then the all tempo means go back to the speed you were originally. Before you slowed down, go back to that speed. That's what that means. Type thing. And you get all that, and then at the end it finally gets loud. Once you can get all that, dynamics, articulation, the fingering there, the notes are all there, the rhythms are all there, it's all there, then put in the pedal if necessary. They have a few pedal markings here. So you'll see some pedals down on the third line. First measure where you're here. We're going to use the pedal. In my opinion, the pedal isn't necessary, but that's what they've done. Because you want the pedal off before you play that last eighth note. You don't. The right hand's done. And in my mind, you don't need the pedal at all. Because it's not all slurred. It's just the 2 eighth notes are slurred. So I'd leave pedal out on that one. And the last line, in that first and second measure, they're indicating pedaling this, but they're doing it more to help connect the notes than for any other reason, because it's awkward. You got the thumb going here to here, and using the pedal can connect that. So and that's really all it's for. Once you've connected the notes, I'd lift the pedal up immediately. You don't need to, don't keep it down on these notes. So it's so lift it up right after you play the G. Right there. Then at the end, we're using the pedal to make it legato and loud. It helps to reinforce the harmonics. It tends to make the chords a little louder. So the last couple measures is here. It's overlapping, and I play the notes first and then the pedal. I play the next chord and then I lift the pedal up. So there's a little overlap, but very little. It's fine. And I would lift the pedal up before I play those last 2 eighth notes in the left hand, because again, it's not connected. That's a slur. The right hand stays down only for the one beat. I would prefer to hear that. Yeah. So the pedaling for the last 2 measures would be that. Now, once you got all that, and you can play it mechanically accurately, rhythmically it's accurate, the notes are all there, the dynamics, articulation, and it's fairly comfortable for you. You got to get it to a point where it's really comfortable for you to play it. You're not struggling with that. If there's any section or any part of this that's still a struggle, you got to spend extra time on that section. And if you need to, well, you should do it anyway, but you tear it apart and find out, why am I struggling? Why am I missing this note? Technically, why? And think about it and verbalize it to yourself. Why did I miss this? Why is this hard? What's going on? And figure it out and fix it. Believe me, once you fix it, it's fixed. It's just wonderful how that works. But once you get all that done, then you go into the interpretive stuff they're talking about on 134. So learning a piece of music can take months, if not years, to really get, really. I just recently played in a piano recital for the piano club. This is a public recital. There was about 300 people there. It was all right for us. Had the piece, knew the piece, got so nervous the fingers wouldn't work, and I missed notes and I left notes out, and that's nerves, because I did know this piece very well. But for next year's, which will be the end of January sometime, I've already started on the piece I'm going to play. And it's a new piece, I've never played it before. But I'm starting now, and I've scheduled it out. So this month I'll have these pages, and then the next month I'll have these, and by the third month I'll be able to play the whole thing, and by the fourth month it'll all be memorized, because to me the memory just comes. In learning the piece, I'll memorize it. It just happens. And then I spend the rest of the time with the interpretation and getting to know it, the rest of those months. And I'll take the whole year to try and learn this piece of music, to perform it next January. And eventually I'll put it up on my other channel too when I do that. And that's the way I approach music. So you learn all the mechanical stuff, and then you experiment. How do I feel when I play this? When I play this melody, what can I do with that? Because you gotta, what can I, usually with this, and you try and put in some interpretive effect. You try and feel something. And you almost have to exaggerate, or anybody listening to you won't get it. Because you can do a lot on the piano and they won't get it. Which is nice if you're making mistakes, because a lot of times you'll make mistakes on piano and the people listening won't notice. It's cool.